Today, we are cracking open the lawyer's playbook. We're going to be drawing from Joel Trachtman's book, The Tools of Argument, to distill the exact techniques that lawyers use to win debates and, more importantly, how you can use them too.
You've been there, right? I mean, we've all had that incredibly frustrating moment when you know you're correct, you have all the facts on your side, but you just can't seem to land the point. And meanwhile, the other person, who you're pretty sure is dead wrong, is somehow winning. It is just maddening.
And here's why that happens. It's because winning an argument isn't always about having the right position or, just shouting your facts the loudest. It's a skill. It's about strategy, about having a framework for your ideas. The best lawyers, they know this. It's the absolute core of their craft.
And the core idea here is that these tools, well, they're not some kind of secret magic, and they are definitely not just for lawyers. They're these refined, powerful techniques for reasoned persuasion that really anyone, and that includes you, can learn and apply.
So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to pull 3 of the most effective, most easily applicable plays straight from that lawyer's playbook. Think of these as your new go-to moves for your next big conversation.
Okay, first up is a classic, and it's so powerful because it's so often overlooked. Instead of just attacking the substance of a decision, you argue the process that led to it.
And this right here is the key question. Think about it. Even if your boss or your colleague made a decision that might actually be a good one, you can still challenge it if the way they got there was flawed. This completely shifts the dynamic of the whole conversation.
So here's how that works in the real world. Let's say a coworker decides to buy some expensive new equipment. Instead of just shouting, "That's a terrible idea," you ask these kinds of questions. Hey, were the finance and tech teams consulted on this? Did we look at all the different vendor options? Were we kind of rushing this? All of a sudden, you're not just complaining, you are advocating for a better, more thoughtful decision-making process.
So the crucial takeaway here is that a fair and thorough process is a value in and of itself. People are way more willing to accept an outcome, even one they don't totally love, if they feel like the process was legitimate and they were heard. And that's play number 1. All right, our second play is all about framing the debate. This is about controlling the context, because whoever controls the frame, well, they often control the outcome. Framing is really all about perspective. It's taking a set of facts and just presenting them in a new light to create an advantage. You see, a really creative lawyer doesn't change the facts. They change how the facts are seen. Let me show you a really powerful real-world example. So, way back in 1975, California passed a law. It required all furniture to be treated with these flame-retardant chemicals. And because California is such a massive market, this standard pretty much became the standard across all of North America. Now, for decades, the entire debate was framed around one thing: fire safety. And I mean, how can you argue against fire safety, right? But then new evidence came out, and all of a sudden, the debate was completely reframed as a public health risk. It's the exact same law, the exact same chemicals, but it is a totally different conversation. The argument went from preventing fires to preventing cancer. That is the power of framing. You know, as Humpty Dumpty famously said, the real question is, who gets to be the master? Who gets to define the terms? When you frame the debate, you become the master of the conversation. And that brings us to our third and final play. This one is simple, but oh man, it is a devastatingly effective tool. Shift the burden. This is all about making your opponent do the heavy lifting. You see, in any argument, somebody has the burden of proof. They're the one who has to prove their point is valid. A lot of the time, we just kind of assume that burden falls on us, the person challenging things. But what if it didn't have to? This tiny little shift changes everything. Instead of you having to prove that a new technology is dangerous, you can argue that the company pushing it has to first prove that it's safe. It seems like such a small change in wording, but it completely flips the entire dynamic of the argument. And you want to know the best part? You can use this in everyday life, like today. When somebody makes some big, bold assertion, you don't always have to come up with a brilliant counterargument. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is just a simple question: how do you know? Or what's your evidence for that? Just like that, you've shifted the burden of proof right back onto them. So there you have it. Those are 3 powerful tools to add to your argumentative arsenal. Let's just do a quick recap of your new playbook. First, remember to challenge the process, not just the outcome. Second, control the frame to define what the argument is really about. And third, shift that burden and make your opponent justify their own claims. But there is a final, really crucial point from the book.
These are tools for reasoned persuasion, not manipulation. Your long-term credibility is your single most valuable asset. Using these techniques dishonestly might win you a single battle, but you will absolutely lose the war for trust and respect.
So the question I'm going to leave you with is this. Now that you have these powerful plays in your book, how are you going to use them? Not just to win, but to elevate your discussions, to clarify your own thinking, and ultimately, to persuade with reason.